You are watching Park TV.
Well, we lost the announcer's voice on there, but hi. Sorry about that, folks. But that track obviously did not go out. But welcome and greetings. Hello, friends. I am welcome to the Park Theater first, and welcome to Park TV's Monadnock Tonight. It is Thursday, May 13th, 2021. It's about 5 p.m. here on the East Coast, and this is show number 75. And that's pretty unbelievable by itself. It's a wonderful 64 degrees and partly cloudy here in Jaffrey. And yes, I am Steve Jackson, CEO of the Park Theater, and your host, and so glad you could join us. We are broadcasting from the box office right now in the new Park Theater Performing Arts Center here in downtown Jaffrey. And today we have a guest who is an award-winning filmmaker and a friend. But as always, first we want to give you some Park Theater news. And this is a busy night for us here at the Park Theater, because just in a little bit of time, we have, as we started last week, we've got a lot of these virtual concerts that you can stream at home that we're presenting through us. They're happening all over the country, but you go to the Park Theater, we get a little bounty from every ticket, so to help the Park Theater out. But tonight, we have got two shows on at the same time. We've got the Milk Carton Kids, who are a Grammy award-nominated kind of non-traditional folk duo from Los Angeles, and they're going to be performing at the Troubadour. And then we also have POD, which is an American Christian metal band, heavy metal band, formed in San Diego in 1992. And have sold albums in excess of 10 million. So they are hugely successful all around the world, and a bunch of top chart-topping radio hits. But I'm going to give you just a taste. If you don't know the either one of these bands, I'm just going to give you about 20 seconds. And I think you'll get a flavor. And they couldn't be more different. They're both on at 9 p.m. tonight. And POD is playing at Petco Park down in San Diego. And again, the Milk Carton Kids are playing in the Troubadour, which is a very famous club in L.A. for decades and decades. But here's just a snippet of the Milk Carton Kids.
There's a light that's shining now, and a calm wind in the pine, for the fate of a fearsome travesty seems to have forgotten me.
So, wonderful musicians, songwriters, beautiful voices. Those are the Milk Carton Kids, and they are on, tickets are $15. You can get it streamed to your any of your devices. You can also get it cast up to your television. There are instructions on how to do that. And then the other band, again, is POD, and this is a very, even though it is a Christian metal band, it's a very heavy metal band, but extremely successful. And but this particular song, not as heavy metal as many of the, but it was one of their biggest hits. Here we go. Here's a short snippet of it.
I can still see the light at the end of the tunnel shine through the dark times, even when I lose my mind. But it feels like no one in the world is listening, and I can't ever seem to make the right decisions. I walk around in the same haze, I'm still caught in my same ways. I'm losing time in these strange days, but somehow I always know the right things to say. I don't know what time it is, or who's the one to blame for this. Do I believe what I can't see, and how do you know which way the wind?
So very different sound from POD, but again a global hit band. You'll also see this weekend we have Straight No Chaser. Straight No Chaser is considered by some the greatest a cappella band, a cappella group out there by some, but certainly no matter what, they're in the top 5 from around the world. And they have a whole weekend of shows. And then if you want a taste of blues, we've got on Sunday, and then he does another live show on the 23rd, is blues legend Bobby Rush. So the tickets are either $15 or $20 each, according to which show that you pick. And it's pretty amazing. So highly recommend tonight, again, Milk Carton Kids from the Troubadour, as well as POD from Petco Park in San Diego, live at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. How do you get your tickets? You go to our website, which is virtualparktheater.com, and very simple, and you can see some of the other shows that are coming up as well. So again, virtualparktheater.com, and you can pick your tickets up for tonight and see the live show. Now, we also got an announcement of a very special talent that is going to be coming up at the end of the month that we're just announcing tonight. Tickets will probably be available at Virtual Park Theater tomorrow, and that is Macy Gray. And Macy Gray will have 3 live concerts, May 30th, June 6th, and June 13th. Go to Virtual Park Theater, and you can get your tickets for the live stream for Macy Gray as well. But they're not up there yet, but for Macy. But for tomorrow, you probably will be able to get it by tomorrow. For all these things going on, we sometimes think everybody's is on our email list, but we find out that's not true because we hear people don't know about a lot what's going on. And the easiest way is we don't overuse it, but to get updated on what we're doing. And the best way to do that is to join our email. You can go to theparktheater.org/email. If you've got your smartphone with you right now, all you got to do is scan the code, and it's going to go right to the registration page. So please join our email list. It's the best way to find out about what's going on. And as we always like to say, please like our Facebook page. That also helps us get more and more people to know what's going on at the Park Theater. And as we get closer and closer to opening, we have another need, and that is in the shape of volunteers. And so if you would like to be a volunteer, and there's so many different jobs around here, from fundraising to marketing, ushering, concessions, concierge desk, parking assistance, all those type of things, we need volunteers. And all you have to do is You can scan that code, and it'll take you right to the registration form for volunteers, or just email us at theparktheater.org, and our volunteer coordinator will get in touch with you. So please, that is very important for us to get ourselves off the ground. Free last bit of news: Park Pix Flicks, our free film that starts tomorrow. If you didn't know it, this is National Bike Month, and we figured we'd show a film that had to do with bicycles or a bike. And there is no greater film, and I'll have to ask my guest about this as well. I mean, immediately you go to Breaking Away, and still as that type of bicycling or bike film in terms of racing, Breaking Away is probably numero uno. But in terms of what a bike means to someone, and how it's a lifeblood for so many, even today, for so many people in terms of their jobs, there is no better than Vittorio De Sica's 1948 classic masterpiece of post-World War II Italy, than The Bicycle Thief, or sometimes referred to as Bicycle Thieves. If you've never seen it, you must see this film. It will go up online on Facebook. You can find it there, or you can go to theparktheater.org tomorrow and click on Park Pix Flicks and see it. But here is the trailer for it. But there is no greater film about humanity, historic in terms of post-World War II in Europe, and specifically Italy, and just about the human condition. Here is the trailer for The Bicycle Thief.
Here again is Vittorio De Sica's greatest triumph and most famous film, The Bicycle Thief. This is the film found on every 10 best list for a quarter of a century, having captured every honor the world of film can bestow, including an Academy Award nomination for Best Screenplay and the coveted Oscar for the Best Foreign Film. In 1965, Stanley Kubrick, John Huston, George Seaton, Joshua Logan, King Vidor, and Fred Zinnemann, among other American directors, voted The Bicycle Thief second place in the 10 best feature films of all time. Critics, performers, and moviegoers alike have had nothing but praise for every aspect of this, the highest point of neo-realistic filmmaking. Academy Award winner Marlon Brando observed, "The Bicycle Thief is a perfect example of what can be done before the motion picture camera, and is so rarely done." Pulitzer Prize playwright Arthur Miller has written, "The Bicycle Thief happens to be a lyrical masterpiece, unafraid to examine openly the destructive world man has made for himself. This picture, above all others, performs the central function of art. Without warping the life it depicts, it discovers the meaning of that life. It is as though the soul of a man had been filmed." Actor Cliff Robertson reports, "The Bicycle Thief is the finest motion picture I have ever seen." The First Lady of the American Theater, Helen Hayes, said, "The Bicycle Thief is a perfect work of art. I laughed, I cried, I sat on the edge of my chair. I was so moved by the whole picture," remarked Henry Fonda, "I was tempted to write De Sica a fan letter." Garson Kanin, director and author, stated, "I have never seen a finer motion picture than The Bicycle Thief." All these accolades and acclaim cannot describe the actual experience of seeing this film and becoming part of its emotional impact.
Well, as I always say about some of the older film trailers, they go on and on and on. So I just wanted to keep everything rolling along, cut it a little bit short there. But as you can see from that trailer, though, I mean, directors, actors, it has, it's up in so many top 10 lists. It's, it's amazing. So that will be on tomorrow. Starting tomorrow, you can see The Bicycle Thief in Italian with subtitles. But I think you will really enjoy that. So that's it for all of our news of what's going on. And our guest, time for our guest today. And our guest is an award-winning screenwriter, director, producer. His bio reads, Colin Costello is a biracial WGA Writers Guild East writer-director living in Los Angeles. His features include the Star Wars-inspired family film The Stream, starring Rainn Wilson, and Alternate Universe with Steve Guttenberg in 2017. Colin was nominated for a Midwest Emmy in 2015 for his work on the PBS Kids series Moochie Kalala Detectives Club. Colin writes superhero, family, comedy, and horror, and that's pretty much a wide genre. Features and edgy hour-long dramedies with a skew towards young adults, teens, and females. And when he's not doing that, he teaches screenwriting at UCLA and is the West Coast editor for Reel 360, an online trade outlet that covers advertising, film, TV, and entertainment. And he also helped co-found Spike Lee's ad agency, Spike DDB, and through the miracle of the World Wide Web, let us say hello to Colin Costello.
Hey, Steve, how's it going?
Hi, Colin. How are you?
I'm good. It's a tough act to follow, the Bicycle Thieves.
Pretty good film, right?
Yeah, I don't have Spielberg writing me a letter, so yeah, it's a little hard.
Not yet.
Not yet. One can always dream.
First, full disclosure, Colin and I worked together at ad agency DDB in Chicago, and Colin was a copywriter on the business that I ran as an account director at DDB, Anheuser-Busch, and so we've known each other for a while.
We have.
And one thing I was remembering today, that time we went out to ABC to pitch the series.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that.
We went to the president. I forget her name now. I think was it Jamie Tarsus?
It may have been. Now I realize, because I think she just left. She was I think she may have just passed away. She was the first female. Yeah, she was the first female TV exec. Yeah.
But we were pitching an idea that of how you could kind of a reality show of watching how a bunch of TV commercials for the Super Bowl were going to be made, and I'm sure that Colin has done many more of these pitch meetings, but I certainly had not done many. And we also had, who was the individual from The Office that was with us? Ben Silverman, right?
Ben Silverman, that's right.
And Bob Lackey, who was from Anheuser-Busch. But that was many moons ago. And
we're a little ahead of our time, actually.
No kidding. A
We,
lot of
now,
stuff that we did was kind of ahead of its time. But
exactly.
But Colin decided that there was something that he needed to do that was outside of advertising and more in the world of filmmaking and screenwriting, and he went to the West Coast, and that's what we're going to find out about today. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. We like to find out a little bit about
Sure.
where you're originally from, and what got you involved in writing, and specifically the type of writing that you do, and the motivation about going to Hollywood, going to LA, and doing
Oh, sure.
that
Sure.
thing.
Well, I mean, I was always a writer. I was writing since I was 5 years old. I watched The Wizard of Oz, and it scared the bejesus out of me. And I fell in love with that movie. And there was just something, even at 5 or 6, that said to me, that's what I want to do. So I had this knack for being able to memorize an entire film because, of course, I'd watch the film over and over again. And I actually, wrote a script based on the movie, and I started putting on plays in my grandmother's basement, actually, for the neighborhood. And got a little when I got a little bit older, my mom and dad got me a video camera, and they didn't realize what they were going to do. They were kind of opening up this passion/sickness that I would have. And all my best friends and I really wanted to do was really remake movies. I grew up on a diet of like 70s and 80s films, and I really gravitated toward disaster films. I actually have a collection of all the original disaster posters at home. And, people will say, oh, John Huston was my influence, or Spielberg. For me, it was actually Irwin Allen. I don't know what it was, but I gravitated toward all the shows, gravitated toward all the movies. The Poseidon Adventure and the Towering Inferno were just my jams, and my best friend and I would go see it over and over.
Towering Inferno.
Yeah. Towering Inferno. I have a poster of it hanging at home, and then Jaws came along, and there was something about those late 70s, early 80s films that they were magical in a way. Like, films can still be magical today, absolutely, but there was just something about that era, I would say, for when Jaws came out and introduced the blockbuster all the way up to, the 90s and Spielberg and Schindler's List. There's just a magical sense of filmmaking, and I gravitated toward that. But, you're in Philly. My parents were first generation college. You say you want to make movies. That's something that other people do, not somebody from Philly. So I went to college, majored in chemical engineering, got a 0.6 cum my first year in school, and that kind of didn't work out. So dropped out and went to Penn State. And I was in liberal arts, and again, started taking a lot of filmmaking classes and everything. And it got to a point where I had to choose a major, either film or advertising. And I actually did an internship by Penn State at this small ad agency. I can't remember its name now, but I did this ad as an art director. It was for Take Home Chicken. And I remember it because the creative director looked at it and was, basically ready to throw me out, but I was free help, so he didn't. But it was a picture of a chicken on a woman's body, and it said, "Bring a chick home tonight." And I thought it was just genius. So I fell in love with advertising, and my parents kind of backed it, saying, okay, you'll probably make a living at it more. So then as soon as I graduated, I moved to New York and really fell in love with the craft of advertising, because when I got into it, it was still storytelling in a lot of ways. There's so many different avenues now that we cover in like Real 360 and everything, from social to, apps, whatever, brands are trying to do whatever they can to reach an audience. But when I got into it, it was still just doing print, doing outdoor, and you really cut your teeth on telling a story in that. And, even when we moved to Chicago, my art director and I, when we got the Budweiser account, DDB told stories. There were stories being told in 30 seconds. And that was what I always gravitated towards. And that's what I loved about advertising. And, switching to foot cone and belting and working on Gatorade and, sodas and stuff, it still continued to tell stories. And I was actually lucky when I started working on Gatorade, I was able to meet a lot of A-list directors. I mean, I had met a big A-list director in Spike Lee at DDB. And like you said, we opened it. And, and honestly, just even going backwards for a sec, that year I spent with Spike was like going to film boot camp.
I bet.
It really was. It was, you watch Spike and his crew do this, act like a well-oiled just machine and do 30 setups in a day. And if your audience doesn't know what that means, it means setting up a new scene. And so that means adjusting the lighting, the camera, everything. His crew could do 30 setups in a day.
Yeah, he was he created this with DDB, which was our agency, and we didn't do too many, but we did a few commercials where Spike was director, and
Yep.
we did one series where we were creating a campaign that was for beer in general. It was funded mainly by Anheuser-Busch, but by all the breweries, kind of to elevate beer as hard spirits and wine were obviously taking some of its territory away. And so the whole premise was, who would you like to have a beer with? And we did these stories, and most of them are all historical stories about the person that you would want to do one. And Spike did one himself that we shot over in Brooklyn, of course.
Of course.
That was about Jackie Robinson. And we went to the field and the site where Jackie played, of course. But to watch his crew, you're absolutely right. He had such a compared to a lot of other directors, certainly there are a lot of directors have tight crews and everything, but what he could pull off in a day was pretty darn amazing.
No, it really was. And I'll never forget, we were in a pre-pro meeting for Budweiser. We were getting ready to do a PSA that Spike was shooting. And, clients are always used to, they get the storyboard, which is maybe amounts to about 6 to 12 frames from a creative team at an ad agency. And then the director and the production team usually embellish, what that storyboard is into a shooting board or, even just in a more elaborate storyboard. And when we did the pre-production meeting with Spike, the client got really nervous because all Spike did was unfold the shooting board that my art director had created, Jeff Edwards, and he just told the story of the 6 frames that we had or so, and they got really, really nervous. They didn't realize that was just basically a template for Spike. And then when you get on set, he's trying all these different things, and he's really talk to his cinematographer, and they have all these ideas that they're going to do with it, but it doesn't come across in like that typical meeting and stuff.
I remember some of the creative teams, the copywriter and art director on some of the ones that we did with him. It was not, I had to kind of play umpire because he would take it and he would move it down, down the field. And sometimes it was not necessarily where the art director and the copywriter or the creative director wanted it to go necessarily.
Right.
So, but I would say 9 times out of 10, he plussed everything that he did. So.
Oh yeah. Well, he's a visionary and a filmmaker.
Yeah. No. There's.
The latest films. I don't know if you've seen *Da 5 Bloods* on Netflix, but I actually felt like that got snubbed because that was actually my favorite movie of the year last year out of everything I saw.
Yeah, no, it was an exceptional film.
And I actually liked it better than Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and even Nomadland. And I liked Nomadland a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to recap that, I really started to fall in love with storytelling, and I ended up writing a spec script, and I entered it in a screenplay contest, and it was actually the Illinois screenplay contest. So they don't run that anymore. It was actually run by the Illinois Film Department, and it ended up in the top 50, and I was just like, oh, okay. And then it kind of became, the passion started coming back that I really, really wanted to tell stories, and that was really the true me. I just I wanted to tell longer stories, and also as advertising kind of changed and it got younger and not that we're old at all, but you know what I mean? And people were coming out of school with books like so polished and everything. And it started becoming more about the execution than about, trying to really tell a story that resonated with the audience. Yeah, you'd still have work that did that, but more and more, I just gravitated more toward wanting to tell longer stories.
Yeah,
So
the storytelling of advertising, that as a genre, has diminished significantly over the past 20 years, and it's a shame. But we all know. I mean, we know, and we've sat. People take a story and the characters to heart in a way, whether even if it's comedy or certainly if it's emotional. It's they take it to the heart so much closer and means so much more to them. Not in a fleeting moment, but more really deep. And when you see new spots that come up that still use this storytelling method, it's kind of refreshing to see it still happen.
It is. We did for Real 360. We did we have our Real Ad of the Week. This is a sidebar, and I had seen the Geico spot with Tag Team. They had the big song "Whoop, There It Is" back in the 90s, and I really liked it, so we made it Real Ad of the Week. I had no idea that would become our biggest article of the year, that we somehow, that spot tapped into the zeitgeist, and it is now the #1 Geico spot of all time.
Wow.
And I could see why, because it was just in a time in a pandemic. It was fun and refreshing and surprising, and everything that advertising is supposed to be.
Supposed to be, yeah.
Yeah, and
tell us. I mean, now that you've moved over to the world of filmmaking,
sure,
more from a Hollywood perspective. What are you currently working on?
Okay. Well, today you got me on a really happy day. I just came back from my victory hike. I finished a comedy script. I can't say the title of it, but I just finished a comedy feature for a producer. She used to work actually at the Disney Channel and was responsible for developing High School Musical and a lot of the Disney movies that became like Camp Rock in like the 1990s and not 1990s, sorry, early 2000s, mid 2000s. And she discovered like Vanessa Hudgens and stuff. So I just finished a feature for her. I have to read it over before I turn it in. And, I signed with a manager last year, Metallic Entertainment, and really, we look at movies versus TV, really trying to, fight a little bit of the ageism and, the diversity, and get staffed on one of the many, since superhero is my main genre that I love, get staffed on hopefully a superhero show. So I've been writing a couple of specs. I have to write another spec episode for Superman and Lois, actually, and just really been interviewing with, I had an interview with Netflix with animation, and have a meeting with Disney Animation coming up to get staffed, because honestly, I feel like film is almost going the way of like advertising used to be. TV to me is doing the better drama, doing the better character development right now. If you look at like Disney Plus and you look at WandaVision or The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there's just more character development. They're like 6 and 8 hour movies.
No, TV has, it has definitely eclipsed. I'm always surprised. My wife and I are always surprised at the abundance of. There's a lot of crap, but the abundance of quality, though. Only comes to show that the fact that 25 years ago, at least television-wise, they produced 65 shows on 3+4 networks. That was it,
right?
And how much talent was out there that was not getting a shot? And
absolutely,
now there is there are a lot of there's Netflix. It's not just Netflix and Amazon because it is
No,
Disney
it's not.
Plus,
And
it's Apple Plus, it's
it is.
Sundance. I mean, it's Hulu, it's all these different ones.
Yeah,
But
you
it
have
surprises us how good the stuff is.
absolutely. And you have 500 scripted shows now. And,
There you
in
go.
all honesty, if you're talking like a studio film, it's so, I mean, getting a film made in general is hard, but getting a studio film made, it's hard because right now the studios mostly release brands. You have Universal with F9 and Jurassic World as brands, Warner Brothers with Lego, DC, the Harry Potter universe, and even Disney. Disney's making films of their rides, and then you have Pixar, Marvel, and Lucasfilms.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's if you look at the amount that the studios are actually putting out, you have A24 and Neon, they're putting out, smaller films, but the mid-range film, that middle range budget film that we used to go and see, it's kind of disappeared. They're either at film festivals or they're showing up straight to streaming.
Well, I mean, one aspect of this that is always tough, always has been tough for especially independent filmmakers, is raising funds.
Absolutely.
Raising funds to produce a short film. And then if you're lucky enough to get some money together for a feature film, and then the whole thing of taking it to the film festivals in the hope that you will recoup and get your investors and yourself.
Yep.
And you'll get it sold to to one of the distributing studios. So what's that race look like these days?
It's hard. It's a full-time job. I've produced 4 short films and 2 web series, and I wrote on all of those projects, and then directed 3 of those projects. And it's hard. I mean, everyone thinks that they're going to go to Kickstarter and raise the funds for their film, and what they don't realize is it's a full-time job in and of itself, just raising money, and it's tiring. If you don't have an investor or somebody who wants to just make a movie, it's really challenging. And the higher the budget, the higher. I teach a short filmmaking class right now at UCLA, and I'm telling them, give yourself a lot of turnkeys. Don't make it a really complicated short film. Go with the idea that you have to do this yourself, because with cameras available, with people wanting to work, you can make it yourself, but you have to have a good story within a reasonable production budget. It's really tough.
That certainly, pitching and selling and raising funds, the business side that a filmmaker, especially independent filmmakers, have to go through is tough. Now, what
you realize too is that I realize acting as a producer, it's the most underappreciated job. Now I know why producers go up and get the awards at the end, because you really are putting together the entire film.
Yeah.
You really are. You're the one going out and soliciting the money and making the decisions and dealing with a distributor and spending money on film festivals and everything. It's a really underappreciated job, but I get it now.
Yeah. Well, and tell me, again, one of the biggest issues, historical, continuing issue, but give us your perspective, being biracial. How do we increase diversity in Hollywood? I mean, some people like to say, well, it's done, it's over. Look at all the nominees, look at all the films. What's everybody complaining about? But I'd love to hear your take on that and your own experiences.
I mean, it's definitely difficult because, we're also talking about over a short period of time. This is something that's going to be going on for decades and probably long after we're gone, because it's if you think about the timescape, filmmaking has probably been around for 30 years, and that doesn't even register on a timeline. We have to get invited not just even invited. We have to have a place at the table where we can tell stories, and not necessarily always just a quote unquote black story. Just because I'm biracial doesn't mean, I have a black story to tell that's in my background. I was just saying my background was, comic books and superheroes and, very escapist stuff. Yes, I always make sure in my script, and it just comes naturally in my stories, that, we kind of have a reflection of the way society looks today. But, I want to get past the point where we're relegated, like Asian stories are being told right now. And that is great because there's a plethora of Asian stories to tell. But what if you're not what if you're that Asian writer or director who doesn't really want to tell that story, that you want to just tell a horror story that's, a reflection of society in general?
Yeah.
Well, you should be able to tell that story as well. You should be able to be considered for that kind of a story as well. So that's when I think we have real true diversity, when we're not just, oh yeah, it's a black story, or it's a female story, we're going to hire a female director. Absolutely. Yes, that is imperative to do. But it has to just become stories and people telling stories, not defined by our sex or our skin color or our, if we're LGBTQ plus or whatever. It's just, a web series I just worked on. I was actually really proud of it because the cast overall was a white cast, but my crew and back was mostly a brown cast, and we produced, and I'm saying white because there's really no other words, the whitest kind of sitcom you probably could, and it was almost an entire brown crew doing it. So that's to me when you have the diversity, that we're able to tell a story that's not necessarily our quote unquote our story, but it's a good story, and it's still saying something about human beings and our culture and where we are right now, but it's just our point of view on it,
Well, I don't know if you've seen Rami. Have you seen that series?
I love Rami, love it.
And yes, it certainly deals with issues with Muslims, Egyptian Americans, but if you pull that back, the real stories, the underlying stories are about family and dating and all the issues that we all have as a common denominator.
Absolutely.
But yes, there is contextual reference because it is what it is. That if you're a Muslim, if you're a Muslim and you're living in the United States, life is a little different for you.
Right.
But when you get back to the family experience, the things that are going on in his family and other families are so common, and there are so many touch points. I think it goes back to what you're saying, is that, sometimes you just have to, there are more common denominators that people with stories, and you don't have to pigeonhole things that only a black writer or a black director will come up with a black storyline.
Absolutely. And you absolutely want that influence if you are going to tell that kind of a story. A film that my second favorite film of last year probably was Soul. And I don't think it would have worked as anything other than a black character, but it still had universal truths like, where is our place in the universe? Where do we fit in? What is our contribution to life? Learning to appreciate life. So those themes.
To tell our audience, if you haven't seen Soul, see it. It's an animated film. It is. It touches just on what Colin's talking about. Where we are in the universe, but it touches on so many aspects of life, death, and where do I fit in between, but done in this way that is so non-traditional and surprising,
Absolutely.
But so human, and it's a beautiful film. If you have a chance, see Soul. But, I was going to ask, I was going to show a little bit of your the wide range of what Colin develops. He's brought along his director's reel, and it's, excuse me, it's a couple of minutes long, but you're going to get a sense from horror to comedy to a little bit of everything, right? Is there anything you want to preface it with?
Yeah, I mean, it all has like a wink in it and everything, because that's still a reflection of me. The After Party, which was actually the first film, it's the second thing featured on there. The After Party, was my homage to the Twilight Zone, because I love the Twilight Zone. If I'm doing a short film, chances are I'm going to try to do it as a Twilight Zone. Even Dream Wisher, which won a bunch of awards, was Twilight Zone inspired as well too. Yeah. So I have Rod Serling. To me, there's a reason his stories still resonate today.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a peek at Colin's work, and we can talk about it afterwards. Here we go.
Do they wish they told someone special that they loved them, or told some asshole to go fuck themselves, or does it just happen? It's like nothing, just blackness.
Thanks.
Girls' night out?
Something like that.
Cheers, Sky.
Do you play?
Sometimes.
Sometimes is a worthless term of indetermination.
You either play or you don't, Sky.
Do I know you?
I'm sure we don't appear on that radar of yours, but we know you. Sky Monroe, reality show star, social media queen.
Belle of the motherfucking ball.
Angel?
All right.
I just actually realized I have to update it. I have more to add on there.
More to add to that? Well,
yeah.
Certainly you're dipping your toes in a lot of genres right there of those three.
Yeah, well, actually, the first one, Bloodbath, is actually a commercial for a big horror film festival, Shriekfest out here. So there's actually a twist. It was all about their 19th year, so she only cuts off 19 fingers and toes, and then there's a twist that everyone laughs at the end after they finish cringing and stuff.
Tell the audience, Colin, the best recipe for blood is?
They sell it. That was my special effects guy. He is a great guy. He travels in a trunk with arms and legs and blood.
That's a guy you don't want to have pulled over.
He actually told me a very funny story about that one time.
You got to be careful when you're in the special effects department.
That's absolutely true.
We're getting close to wrapping up, but one thing that we want to wrap up with is you just won an award a few weeks ago.
I did, yeah.
For Best Director of a Web Series, correct?
Yeah, the current web series that we have out right now from Motive. And
There's the poster for it.
Yeah, there's the poster for it, and it's a parody of 90 Day Fiance. It's over the top comedy, which I've always really enjoyed and stuff. So it's over the top, and the Golden State Film Festival. The Golden State Film Festival gave.
Is it Golden, or is it? I saw it both ways. Is it the Golden or the Garden State?
The Golden. Well, there is a Garden State Film Festival that was for Dreamwalker, but in the case of From Russia with Motive, that was the Golden State Film Festival in LA. But they awarded it me Best Director, which I was really blown away by.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks so much.
Let's see. We've got the trailer. Now, is this available on a specific website, or if somebody wants to see webisodes of this?
It's not available. It's we have to, because it's on the film festival circuit right now. The festivals have these rules that they really, and I get it because people are paying to go see it. They don't want it available online or anything like that. So we have to keep it under lock and key until it's finished its film festival run.
And the general premise of the show From Russia with Motive.
It is about two sisters who come to America looking for rich husbands, and what it really does is it delves into a lot of the stereotypes we have about Russians, and the stereotypes that Russians may have about us as well. And thematically, it's really about finding your place and really looking for love.
Well, let's see the trailer for it and get a snippet of it. Here we go. From Russia with Motive.
My name is Natasha, and I am from Russia.
Meet Natasha.
Alex!
Shoot!
No! Svetlana!
My name is Svetlana Vladimirovna Lukanovich.
Meet Svetlana.
Natasha! $1 million!
Two sisters, one plan.
Rich!
What could possibly go wrong? Introducing From Russia with Motive. A new comedy about love, of money.
Rich!
And are the actresses playing Russian actually Russian?
One is Latvian, and the other one is actually Mexican American.
Well, there you go. That's
but one is Latvian, and we did have the third featured lead is actually absolutely Russian.
But when do you think that we should be able to see it as a series? That
probably sometime early next year.
Early next year.
Because like I said, it's on the festival circuit right now. We're awaiting decisions on several different fests right now. And hopefully these will now. There's going to start to be in person, because the festivals that it has been in, it's all been virtual right now.
All right. Well, we're going to keep our eyes out for that.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes out for Colin Costello. You have a website, Colin?
I do. It's colincostello.com.
That's the one you want to. That's the one you want to have. Nice and simple. Nice and simple. But find out more about Colin there. And on Facebook. I know you're on Facebook.
I am. And on Instagram and Twitter.
And I see one. We simulcast to several, and I know we don't get too many people, but we do have somebody from Twitch watching us live, and we thank you.
Oh, well,
probably simpatico with some of what Colin what he likes in terms of. Superheroes and so forth.
Oh, yeah. Twitch is great.
There's a lot of gaming, but there are a lot of live shows on Twitch now. And
Twitch is really expanding, actually, a lot.
Yeah, so we've added ourselves on there. So we thank you,
absolutely,
whoever is watching from Twitch. Thanks for being with us. This has been wonderful to catch up with you.
Absolutely.
And it's been quite a while since we have talked, but we were trying to get Colin onto our Oscar panel, but we'll have him on the next Oscar panel or the next awards panel.
Well, if you do an Emmy panel, count me in.
Yeah, we'll get you out here for when we're doing some of our film festivals after we finally get open here, and so we'll stay in touch. But we appreciate it, Colin Costello. Thank you so much for being on Monadnock
Thanks so
tonight.
much, Steve. I really appreciate it.
And stay well, and we will stay in touch with you.
Yeah, for sure. Take care.
All right, all the best.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Well, that was great to see Colin, and only from the personal standpoint, but he does give you a perspective of not only being a filmmaker from the producing side, from the directing side, from the writing side, but also from a biracial standpoint and context, working in Hollywood. And so it was good to have him on, very good to have him on. And maybe there'll be something else that you will see Colin on as well. And we will keep you informed about that. So with us, we're coming up on the end of the show. We are so glad, as always, that you are with us. Remember, 9 p.m. tonight. Go to, I'm going to put it up again, go to virtualparktheater.com, get your tickets, buy them to either see the Milk Carton Kids or see POD. And Milk Carton Kids, it's only tonight. POD does have some other concerts, other performances that you can purchase beyond tonight. So if you want to see Milk Carton Kids, you can still see POD at a later date. But both of them are on tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. I think POD are $20 for tickets, and the Milk Carton Kids are $15 per online ticket. So support us with that, and be on the lookout for a lot more concerts coming up, as I said, including Macy Gray later in the month. And that's about it. As always, if you have a question about our programming, if you are thinking of sponsoring a show, pretty much anything, give us a call at 532-9300, or you can always email us at parktv@theparktheater.org, and I still have the virtual Park Theater, so don't forget about that. And then as we end all of our shows, and people have been keeping the faith, and every day a lot of the news, it's not all perfect, but a lot of the news is getting better and better. And so be safe, be healthy, always be kind to everyone, be hopeful, because we can do this. This is Steve Jackson thanking our guest today, Colin Costello, and we will see you next week on Monadnock Tonight.